Hey everybody, welcome to Mortgage Today for Tuesday, June 11th, 2024, and oh, what a day it was. UMBS were actually green for once in the first hour of trading, up about 9 basis points. S&P futures were down 12.25 points early. Investor demand for haven assets rose as potential upheaval in Europe intensified, driving gains in US Treasuries ahead of inflation data and the Fed's interest rate decision on Wednesday. The Stoxx 600 fell over 1%, extending losses for the third day, while US equity futures dropped and 10-year Treasury yields decreased by 4 basis points. The euro weakened, with French markets seeing the most significant moves in 10-year note yields jump 10 basis points to 3.32. Italian debt also experienced increased spreads over German bonds. Speculation around French President Macron's potential resignation if his party performs poorly in upcoming elections added to market jitters. Globally, investors are preparing for volatility. Globally, investors aren't preparing for volatility with upcoming U.S. consumer price data and the Fed rate decisions. The Fed is expected to keep rates unchanged, but forecasts vary on future rate cuts. Amidst these uncertainties, bond prices are slightly improved in early trading. Like I said, small business optimism improved in May, according to the NFIB Small Business Optimism Index. Optimism hit a high for the year, but we are still at levels associated with the worst months of the pandemic. Inflation remains the biggest concern, and regulatory uncertainty remains another. The FOMC meeting begins today, and the Wall Street Journal's Nick Timiraos thinks that investor reaction will be driven by the dot plot and whether we have 1 or 2 cuts this year. If we get a projection for 2 cuts, investors will start pricing in a September cut. If not, the focus will turn to December. He's full of shit because they're just going to say a bunch of the same crap. Shelter inflation remains the biggest driver of inflation prices, and it looks like we aren't getting much relief here. The asking rents are back up at May of 2022 levels. We did get a 10-year Treasury auction today, which came in at 4.438 versus a 4.458 expectations. Bid to cover came in at 2.67 versus a 2.49 average. This was a very well-received auction, both in terms of yield award coming in 2 basis points below the expected level, and in terms of bid to cover coming in almost 20 basis points above the recent average. And if yesterday was a placeholder ahead of bigger ticket events, and if those bigger ticket events arrive on Wednesday, then Tuesday couldn't possibly be anything other than a placeholder as well. That said, it was more interesting placeholder with some friendly volatility derived after a strong showing of the 10-year Treasury auction. In some regard, the bond market's willingness to bid aggressively at the auction, with CPI and Fed coming up the next morning, might confirm something about the underlying bullish predisposition discussed last week. But then, as now, the catch is that bullish predisposition will require confirmation in data. On that note, all eyes are on Wednesday's CPI. So UMBS ended the day up 19 basis points somehow at 100.35. So at 100.35, it gets us a super narrow range. We got a floor right there at that 25-day moving average, and then the 100-day moving average dipping right below that really tough Fibonacci line that we've only broken through a couple of times going back to early April. Real tough range there. So the CPI is going to be a crazy thing tomorrow, as well as the dot plots. We also got news that the VA issues a temporary fix to allow buyer-paid broker fees. So the VA is going to allow buyers to pay some broker fees in reaction to the NAR settlement. And then also we got some news in the industry that under stress, Home Depot buys time with a plan to extend $500 million worth of debt. So Loan Depot plans to extend its $497.8 million in senior notes due in the fourth quarter of 2025 at a lower maturity and a higher interest rate. And things that we can control, our own offers. So from our sponsor at well-that-makes-sense.com, this is part 3 of a series from Alex Hormozy from $100 Million Offers. So this is all about building offers that will win, drive tons of business into your business, and it's a great listen. So check it out, our sponsor at well-that-makes-sense.com.